All right, everybody. So this is the moment that I always try to avoid in every situation possible. But today is the day of my best friend's wedding. And I wanted to make sure that I had everything done. And I did have everything done. This cake was complete. But because of the temperature yesterday, it's actually a lot cooler today, but because of the temperature yesterday and the height of my cake, I couldn't put it into the fridge. So I just thought, okay, I'll try to just leave it out. I covered this in an American buttercream because, as we know, that's the most forgiving and the type that's going to hold up really, really well. And it was just kind of melty. I'm sure it would have been fine to just leave it, but I didn't feel comfortable leaving it because it was like slightly coming out on the sides. That's what happens if you don't set your cake for long enough and well enough. And I knew that that was a possibility, and then it kind of kept melting, and the fondant wasn't hardening up enough to encase it so that it stopped doing that. So I did notice that there was a little bit of that going on, and I originally was like, maybe I can just pipe over top of it because there's all this like vintage lace piping on it. No, that didn't work because as soon as I pulled the cake off, it was like falling apart in my hands, which means it was way too soft. So now we're in this panic mode. I've got 2 hours to get this ready. And I thought, what better? Because you guys know, if you've been on my channel before, you know, I often talk about the fails that I have or just the timing issues that I might have sometimes. And what better way to showcase that than actual live content? So, this is my royal icing. We're going to do some piping in a little bit. Here is the other caveat that's a little interesting. It's that I have only this amount of white fondant left. This is it. And I really don't have to cover that big of a cake, but it is still incredibly nerve-wracking that I only have this. So, we're going to try our best. Now, if it doesn't work, I do have gum paste, which really is not my first choice. Like, it's quite hard. Now, just looking at this, yeah, I feel like I need to add a little bit of gum paste just for some reassurance. Now, I don't generally like to use gum paste at all when covering cakes. It's very hard, obviously, as opposed to fondant, which is a lot more pliable. But desperate times call for desperate measures. Usually I have so much fondant, but it's just, we're coming down to the end of the wire here in summer. All my projects were supposed to be over, so because we're adding in that because we're adding in gum paste, I'm gonna go quite heavy with the shortening here to get this as pliable as I can. And I am sorry if you guys are talking in the chat. Okay. Really want this nice and soft. Okay. You know that your shortening is needed in this enough once it doesn't feel like that super like coated feeling. Yeah, I can already feel the gum paste really doing its job. Of actually hardening. Okay, so let's try this. Everybody cross your fingers that we have enough. I don't want to have to cover this again. Wreck it. The rest of the cake turned out beautifully. And when the cake was completely finished, it was really beautiful. Like I really liked it. It was just the heat in here was too much. Even though I had air conditioning, but it was quite a hot day yesterday. Really want to get this nice and thin. And of course, with a cake like this, I have to stack it right away in order for me to decorate it. I can't have it unstacked, so. Okay, this really does look like it's gonna cover surface area, and it's not a big cake, but again, it's about how we place this on, making sure. Yay! Okay, we're not out of the woods yet. We've all been in this situation. If you're a cake decorator, you've been in this situation before, for sure. Really just adhering it to the sides here. Trying to get rid of those air bubbles as I go along, but no big deal if they're there. Now, because I am rushing a little bit, I might not get as beautiful of an edge as I should. But all will be well. And if you're finding you're getting like a lot of folding happening, it's just about getting it like here is usually the toughest part for people. Really just take it, make sure it's flat, and then fold it against, sorry, not fold it, lay it flat. Fondant is a lot more forgivable, especially when you add in that shortening, than you think. Yay! Okay. Alright, it's not perfect, but we're going with it. Alright. I'm going to take my cutter here. You could use an X-Acto knife, whatever you like. Alright. Make sure to cover up that fondant right away. I want to get rid of this stuff. This stuff is like, if you were doing like a colored fondant or something, it's exactly the type of stuff that's going to cause you a headache later on. So you just want to make sure that you just really smooth this out. I still haven't shown you guys how I use this fondant edge smoother thing. I haven't been doing as many tiered cakes after I bought this. So I haven't had an opportunity to show you, because this happens with light cakes. I don't think I've done live cake decorating in a really long time, so hopefully you guys are benefiting from this. Now, I'm gonna do the thing that you shouldn't do, but I'm gonna stack this right now because I'm on a limited time crunch, and I'm going to continue to kind of smooth it out on the cake. Again, I do not recommend this type of behavior, but when you are under the gun, you gotta do what you gotta do. Let's clear off this part. And really important, if you have hot hands, which I very rarely do, really put on some gloves when you're doing transfers and stuff. My hands, for the most part, are pretty dry and cold. Not cold, but just kind of like medium temperature, so it's going to be just fine. But if you find you get very sweaty, then yeah, I highly recommend gloves. A lot of the time when you guys see me wearing gloves in videos now, it's not actually about sanitation, because in reality, your bare hands are actually a lot cleaner. It's more so that I don't indent or wreck things when I'm transferring. Just gonna check out what you guys are saying here. I'm so sorry. So nice to see you guys all. Yes, my friend Rachel is in the chat. She saw the cake fully done yesterday in person, and I was fine with it, but then when I got home I was like not happy with it, so you know how that is. Okay, time to move my cake in to view. Now, like always, this is primarily a fake cake. Now, if we have to remake some of those florals, so be it. Let's pull this back a little bit. Okay, so I've already stuck the pole in. I actually just, what did I do? I had to hammer it in because it is a styrofoam piece. Okay, now here's the thing that I recommend against everybody doing, but I'm going to do it. Because I have to. All right, here we go. It's never going to be as beautiful, of course. Okay, now of course I put my indentations on that, but the nice thing is when it is a little bit soft still, you can still get away with this behavior. And we're just going to smooth everything out here. There we go. And really, I'm mainly worrying about what the front of this looks like because it's mainly going to be seen from the front. So to me, that looks pretty good, pretty centered. Okay, now it's time to add on. I'm going to add the flowers last. I made these before. And now it's time to start piping. This is the fun part. So let's bring you in a little closer. Okay, I'm gonna bring this in a little closer. I cut a really small hole in my tipless piping bag so that I can do this. And then I'm gonna be using a brush technique. So you're just taking, I love sweet stamp brushes. So I'm taking my sweet stamp brush. Yes, need to do the classic YouTube thing. I'm taking my sweet stamp brush and we're going to, I just want something with a straight edge. That's really what I'm looking for. Make sure you grab a tissue or a paper towel of some sort, or a towel if you want to be very environmentally conscious. And now I'm going to go ahead and fill in all of these things. You know what? I'm going to put it on my stand. My friend really does not like to work on her stand once the cake is this tall and this big, but I am a stand person, so I'm going to put this on my cake stand. And it really is not a heavy cake. Yeah. You want to make sure it's fairly centered. All good. Make sure that most of this is in the shot still. There we go. Okay. Okay, now's the time to pipe. So obviously I had a border going on here. It is no longer happy with me. I'm going to put that dotted border back in. And this cake already feels 1,000 times better than when I had originally done it yesterday.
Mommy,
Yes.
you can wash the car with Daddy.
Yes, you can do. And remnants of my my border is still there, so I'm just gonna go with it. I'm really not overly concerned with this. I got over the most nerve-wracking part. The most nerve-wracking part for me was getting this stacked again, because I had such a little amount of fondant left. This part is the fun part. Okay. And don't worry if it's not perfect. This particular design. Okay, so right away I'm going to cover up this kind of thing here that happened. And it's really not going to make too big of a deal. I'm going to make a little petal shape. See that little petal shape there? Then I'm going to take my brush, dab it off with the water, and then pull it down. And I'm going to keep going. And do the same thing. I feel like my whole cake journey has really just been a series of times learning not to panic. And see how beautiful, like, the Sweet Stamps brush really pulls through very nicely. And this is great if you don't have a steady hand. Now there are parts of this cake, obviously, like here where we've got the netting, you do need to have a pretty steady hand in order to do that. It just takes practice over and over again though. Yeah, it's looking really pretty. So you got that. Now you'll notice that my white is like quite bright white. The reason for that is I did add some white food coloring to my royal icing. I really wanted to give this a lot of contrast. Sometimes when things are just like pure white on white, it can be difficult to see what's really going on, especially in pictures. And when I'm doing wedding cakes like this, I really want to make sure that the photograph comes out well, because really, honestly, I mean, if you guys have watched the video where I talk about my own wedding cake that I didn't make, somebody else made it for me, I didn't know how messed up it was until I saw the pictures. I mean, I did see, like, right off the bat, like, oh, there's some things on here that look a little imperfect, but I really didn't think too much of it until I saw the photos. So it really is about, for wedding cakes at least, in my opinion, making sure that it photographs well. Okay, let's do a big one here. I'm gonna do big, big, big. Now this is a mix between like a vintage lacy pattern and these beautiful kind of brushed flowers. And I was so grateful that I had enough royal icing left over. Usually I make the perfect amount for things, so I'm very happy. That I overshot. Maybe I knew. Maybe my cake intuition just knew I would mess this up. I'm so happy though, guys. It is not warm at all today. It is very cool. And it's a little bit overcast as well. It does make me feel like summer is really over, but in the cake world, this is a good thing. It's amazing how, even though I feel fairly confident with this type of technique and all that stuff, how long it still takes, you know? What's also nice is that you'll see this in the, I'll do a full video, guys. I've been behind on full videos because I have no space left on my hard drive, and I need a way bigger hard drive. My husband helps take care of a lot of that stuff, and I've been saying I need more. He's like, how are you taking up blah, blah, blah space? And I'm like, because all of my videos are in 4K. So I have been behind, and I'm incredibly sorry. And September, I would love to say, oh, September is going to be better. It won't be. It's going to be chaotic. It's going to be messy. I will still have lots of shorts, but yeah, in terms of being able to have anything else up that's long form, it's still going to be just as painfully slow, and I'm sorry. Okay, let's start doing some leaves here. So you'll see that I kind of did like this style of leaf. So let's do that over here. I think we're going to put, now when I look at the cake this way, it's mainly how we're going to look at the cake. So I think maybe we'll put a little bit more here. This is where that steady hand kind of matters. So we're going to go bobble on the top, like this. And we're going to do half the whole way through. And then on this, so you'll see here how I didn't really like match up the leaves. Really it's just kind of like halves, like ovals kind of. But here, I approach it a little bit differently. It's like kind of slanted so that we get that little bit of a slant from it. Let's go in with a little bit of detailing here. I'm going to, and it's really about filling in this lace pattern. So notice I just kind of created like a little blockade there. And then I'm going to go in with some piped lines. Again, this is what's going to make most panic. Okay, you make a mistake like that, it's really no big deal. Happens all the time. Take it off. I'm gonna just pipe right over that line, but I already did. Even, steady pressure. Even, steady pressure, and making sure that it's actually adhering to the cake. See right there what I did is I did not make sure that it was adhering to the cake. And of course, start with the shorter sections if you feel like that's going to give you more confidence first. Now we're going to go ahead and crosshatch. Now this is where you have to make less mistakes because of course if you mess up on the crosshatch, you got to do more. And you are allowed to breathe during this time. You really want to make sure that with this you want to try not to drag your bag through. There you have it. You've got that beautiful lace coming in. Let's go ahead and add some dots. Okay, I'm going to add in at this point, I probably will do a little bit more piping, but I'm going to go ahead and add my flowers in. Gonna grab my toothpicks. So So here I've made my classic rose. In the video where it's full length, you're gonna see exactly how I did it. Really, it's no secret though. You could look it up right now and see how I did it. I'm gonna give this just a little bit of leverage here. We're always looking to make sure that it has leverage. Go in with the pink. Always dependent upon what I want. I think this pink actually doesn't look that. Yeah. Like so. Pink in here. I'm gonna make something. Now, do not fret or worry about what this looks like on the side. Honestly, it doesn't matter, especially when the cake is going to be up against the wall or something like that. I'm going to use some edible glue, which is just a mixture of Tylose and water. Just going to put that. And do some fill-in flowers here. Now, originally it was totally fine because my flowers weren't hardened, so they kind of like melded exactly where I wanted them to go, but not now. I'm gonna do some flowers here really quickly. I think we're gonna make it, guys. All is going to be well. Okay. And you'll get to see me make this rose live. Yay! Okay. Oh, I'm gonna need my styrofoam block here. Sorry for my mass disorganization. Alrighty. And we're just gonna keep these pure white to make it simple. Got my foam, got this, that's really all I need, and of course the fondant. And what's great is that because I mixed this with the gum paste, it's going to be quite easy to get this into a flower. But honestly, I do fondant flowers all the time. The reality is gum paste is expensive, you have to buy something completely different. If you're doing this as a hobby, you might not want to invest in that. So being able to have the skill and the ability to work with fondant and create these flowers out of it is important because it's a money saver, really. Whoops. And there are always ways to get out of using gum paste, but sometimes it is easier. Now that is an incredibly thick flower. I'm fine with it. I'm just gonna go with it. Okay, I'm just gonna thin this out. And the petal shape is really what you make it. You can make it more ruffly, you can make it less ruffly, whatever you want. I'm just doing some fill-in flowers here, so I'm really not being too picky. I'm gonna ruffle them all. Chances are, if you haven't worked with fondant a lot, the main issues that you're gonna run into is that you're not gonna be able, like things are gonna dry out on you because you're not working as quickly. So that's the main thing. I remember watching this, one of my very first fondant rose tutorials that I ever watched. She like cut out all the things individually. She did it very well. It turned into a beautiful flower, but it also was like, oh, and then put this piece back into your Ziploc and put this piece back over here. And like, there was a lot of like movement in that way. And I so don't work like that now. Like I don't do the whole Ziploc thing, but I did for a little while. I thought that that was the way you had to do it in order for it to work. Again, I'm being very haphazard with this, guys. But really, just show me how easy it is to get this together. Okay, and then we're gonna roll along. They always make this look so easy in this like little commercial they have for this. I used to see it on Instagram all the time. And it is easy, but it also does take some finessing, so. Because I remember I tried teaching my friend, who's very artistic, how to do this, and she was struggling, so. Oh, I'm gonna get some more of that edible glue. Okay, and there you have your beautiful rose. What we're gonna do, and this is just a filler rose, so I'm going to put this right here. Underneath. Again, it might look like, oh, it's squished. She is squished, but I'm okay with it. Okay. Okay, let's do this next one. Let me take those out. No, I hated that one. Let's do it again. One more time, guys. I also find that sometimes, like, we fiddle to get the thing looking right, when in reality, if we just kind of went, like, forgot it, threw it away, and redid it again, we'd like it so much better. And sometimes that's faster than trying to fiddle. Again, that's a big cake lesson too. That's a good life lesson, actually. Happy with that. There we go. Yes. Okay. Let's move you guys back so you can see the last of the piping, and then I'll show you the cake. And we made it. We did it. Okay. So there's looking, it's looking pretty good. I really am happy with it. I'm just going to fix up some of this here. Just going to give this a little bit more of a center. And the key to making this lace idea really pop is going back in and adding those layers in. Like here, I could have just left it at a little bit more of a flat rose. I went back in, I added a little bit more. So just like here, I could leave that as flat, but I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna add in a slight bit more detail. And I'm not gonna brush this one out. See how that just gives it that extra pop that we're looking for? Just let me get a little bit of oomph there. Yeah, I love it. I'm gonna give myself another leaf here. I also added in some edible pearls too on the other tiers. I feel like the pearls don't pop as much as I want them to, so I'm just gonna leave it for this top tier. I think if you have better quality pearls than me, I have these like cheapy ones that I got from the grocery store, and I'm really not that pleased with them. So I honestly think it'd be much better if you look here. Yeah, I honestly feel like it would just be better to leave it. Or if you have like the kind that are a little bit more iridescent, look a little bit more like a pearl, then it would be pretty beautiful. Just gonna finish off this lace here. Look at inside. Now, I'm really not gonna bring too much along on my kit. I think I'm just gonna bring my piping bag, this one, and I'm gonna bring my paintbrush, and that's gonna be it. I really don't foresee having to do anything on site, but if I do have to do anything, that will fix most issues. All right, guys, I think I'm done. Oh, I love it. It's stunning. I'm gonna move you guys just a little closer here. Here, let's do a better light. See all that detailing. I love it. Well, we did it. I've got to go get ready for the wedding now. Time to clean my kitchen, which is just a disaster once again. So I'm going to go clean my kitchen, and yeah, I'll have the full tutorial up for this one, where I actually show you how to do every single step. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.